Hi FlossTube friends, I'm Sherry, Colorado Cross Stitcher here on YouTube, also on Instagram, and I have a brick and mortar and online shop, coloradocrossstitcher.com. So today I have so much to go through, as is always the case, it feels like. I never feel like I have enough to show, so I put off FlossTubing and then all of a sudden I have too much to show. But even so, I don't think it's going to be that long of a video today. So I want to talk about, I set up my calendar for 2025, so I'm going to show you how I did that. I have 2 WIPs out of my 6 that I said I was going to finish this year, 2 that I got done. I hope that's the way this year goes. And I have other finishes, and then I'm going to talk about some framing tips or how I pick frames for some of my pieces. And then I have my 3 things. We have a giveaway, we have shop news at the very end. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you for the next hour or so. So first of all, my book of days, which I know a lot of you have. And the last time I did a FlossTube, which was I think the first week in January, I didn't have it set up, so I was going to show you. So on the first open page, I have my word of the year, which is focus. I have family photos and stickers that I love. Okay, this sticker, Mr. Pickle, I have these retro, is it Red and White Kitchen, I think is the manufacturer. I have these in the shop, these retro stickers, and when I saw Mr. Pickle, I thought, oh, that's different, cute. And when they sent us our order, they included a free Mr. Pickle magnet to put on our fridge. So we have that on our fridge at work. And the more I looked at Mr. Pickle every day when I got my lunch out, the more he kind of grew on me. So I have Mr. Pickle on my favorite stickers page. All right, so here's January. And just, I put down here along the side the different things that I start and what fabric it is so I can remember that, and just a little bit on February. But those retro stickers, so I decided, well, I'm going to use one a month for a while. So this is one of them. I think that's so fun. It reminds me of the Jetsons. I love the cherries. Hang on. Okay. March is cute cat. April, cute duck. June, May, rooster. June, camper. So I just picked the different ones and put them on some of the months because I like to jazz my pages up, as you know. Right, and then in the back, I add extra pages, which you can do. You can just take your book of days to Office Max or Staples or Office Depot, whatever, and have them spiral bind it. We put a clear cover front and back, and then I put 5 extra, 5 or 7, 5 for most people, for cardstock in the back. So I have a list of floss tubes and audiobooks. I used to be a really big reader, and now I just listen to audiobooks because I'd like to be stitching while I'm doing that. My next page is my finish, let's see, my WIPs. That's a long list of WIPs, so that's why I'm really trying to knock through some of them. So these are the things that I said I would finish this year. These are the things I said I would work on this year, and these are the starts that I want to do this year, which of course that list is going to grow. And then I made first, second, third, fourth quarter so that I could go through and kind of at least tentatively schedule those things in the different quarters, so I feel like I've got kind of a loose plan. And it's loose because, for example, one of the things that I said I was going to work on first and second quarter is one of the ones I finished first quarter, so there's lots of flexibility, but at least it feels like I've got something down. Events to note in 2025, sadly, the first one is Jean Lee from the Attic, who was a dear friend and just such a wonderful person in our industry. And I know you guys have probably seen all of the tributes to her on Instagram and Facebook. She was the owner of the Attic in Mesa, Arizona, and just will be very much missed in our community. And I'm so glad that I got to know her and was able to go to her retreat several times and visit her beautiful shop. finishes. Look at me, I've already started putting my finishes on there because, as you know, last year, every year in December, I scramble because I somehow got behind on taking pictures of my finishes. So I'm really trying to stay up with that. A couple pages of finishes, fun. I went and visited my mother-in-law in January in Iowa. It was freezing cold, but it was her birthday, so that was fun. And so that's it. So it's set up for the year. And I've said this before, but the more personal you make your calendar, the more meaningful it will be to you and the more you'll want to be putting stuff in it. So when you add things like pictures of your finishes or fun things that you've done or things that you want to remember about that year, it just makes it even more special. And then I always get people asking about the small pictures that I put in my calendar. Those are 2x3 pictures, and I use a little camera printer, and I link to it in the notes in all of my FlossTubes. So if you go to the description under my video, there's like a sentence and it says more. And if you click more, it'll drop down. And if you click more again, it'll drop down even more. And there's links to all of these things. So mine is a Kodak. Let's see, I have a Kodak printer, Kodak Step printer. And it's this big. I had to get a new one because my old one, after 3 or 4 years, stopped working, so I had to put a mushroom on the new one so I'd know which one was the new one before I got rid of the old one. Anyway, all you do is plug it in, and there's an app for your smartphone, and you can send your picture to the app and then just click a button on your phone and it sends it to the printer, and it couldn't be slicker. They're not the best quality prints because it doesn't use a print cartridge. It uses laser printing, right? Is that what it uses? You just have to replace the little paper, the little photo papers. But for me, it's good enough. If I was making a beautiful scrapbook of a trip or a special occasion, I would definitely use regular printers. But for my little calendar, this works. And then I just got a little case to keep it in. So if you are interested in that, and I know a lot of you guys have them already, anyways, it's in the notes. So let's jump into what I've been working on. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my blessing sampler. I think this is the first year I've done a blessing sampler. The idea of a blessing sampler is you do something in the month of January, you hopefully finish it in the month, but that's, also a loose rule. And then you hope that that's the way your stitches will go for the year or something. I don't really know, but I like the idea of a blessing sampler. So I went through some of my WIPS or my kitted up things, and this is one that I have had kitted up for a long time. It's the SL 1862 small sampler by Leela's Studio. Leela also has a large SL 1862, like the full sampler, but then she did this pattern for the small, and I just like all of the motifs on there. So I picked that for my blessing sampler. I'm just pausing because I know, as usual, haven't looked up the fabric I used. So I did it on a 36 count, and it is, well, I just said weeks linen. I think it's the linen color of weeks. That's always confusing when you say weeks linen. It's the linen color, and it's 36 count, and I used 2 strands because I like better coverage, and I feel like, I know a lot of people use 1 strand on 36 count, and that's also fine. It's a little lighter look. It looks a little more, probably a little more vintage. I just like the design to pop up from the fabric instead of blend down into the fabric. I have stitched 1 stitch on some of my pieces, and those are fine too. I guess, do a case-by-case decision. But anyway, here's my finish on 36 count weeks linen, 2 strands over 2. And I put my initials and the year. And I've already ordered a frame for it, so I'm excited. I did iron this. Look how it still looks wrinkly. linen. Drives me crazy. I even got a really good new iron, but you wouldn't know it from the look of that. All right, and then let's go to let's go to some more new ones. So another new one that I did this month is Valentine Holiday. This is one of the Birds of a Feather patterns that I've remastered. I think it's so cute. The original was done on red, and I talked to Megan, who is one of the original designers of Birds of a Feather, and we agreed to put it on a different color. First of all, they used to dye their own linen, and that was a specific red, but there's so many reds and pinks threads in this particular pattern that it was just hard to find the right red. So I did it on Country Mocha, and I love how the reds and pinks pop, and that's just so cute. Cute couple. I think these Birds of a Feather designers did the cutest characters in their patterns. Whimsical. And I will show you that pattern later during the shop section because I've got that. And then I also did January cat. Janvier birthday cat is what it's called. All of the cats for each month are French names. And I'm going to show you, because I have the original that they did, and they call them birthday cats because they put, I think, different names of people in their family and then their birth date. So this one was for Sharon, whose birthday was the 11th of February. And so that's how I chart it. I chart it with the name Sharon and this in a full alphabet, so that if you want to make yours into birthday cats, or if you want to say things like Happy Winter or Winter Wishes or Burr or whatever you want to put on yours, you can personalize it anyway. The cover of the photo, the pattern, will look like this. I did mine on 40 count. I kitted them with 36 count because I know a lot of people like doing it on 36, and that will make it a little nicer, bigger size. But there's a comparison of those two. And in case you missed December, because it's a 12-month series, I had to stop and think because I've done the February one too, which is coming out probably in the next week or so. Then I had to think, was it January I'm supposed to be showing you? Yes, February hasn't come out yet. This was the December one. Now for February and March, I don't have their model copy. So I will just have the little to stitch. But I wanted to show you this just so you know when you open your pattern why it has names and dates on there, because that is how it was originally designed. And I think it's a fun idea. But the cats themselves are so cute. The one in February has a little red pinafore dress with hearts on it. The one in March is in a yellow hat and slicker with, I think, purple boots. I haven't stitched that one yet. So they're really cute, very creative, very fun to stitch. So that was another finish I had. And then let's go to my 2 WIPs. So this first one is the one that I did for my maternal grandmother. She and my grandfather were born in Germany, which is why I love Germany, visiting Germany. I'm so glad to have a friend in Germany, because she's been so great in having me come over and showing me different parts of Germany. And anyway, so my grandma, this is the one I wanted to do for her. And honestly, I had quite a bit left to do, but I just got on a roll. So this is Martha Evans by Scarlet House. I loved this right away when it came out because I loved the bright colors. They were happy colors to me. My grandma was very creative. She loved bright colors around her, not so much in the way she dressed, but she loved to paint. And I remember one time we went to visit her and she had painted her kitchen blue cabinets, like not baby blue, you know, a deeper color than that, and then red trim, and it looked so cool. And I think that's why I like the combination of red and blue so much. Anyway, this particular sampler and the colors just made me think of my grandma. So I'm really happy to have this done. Martha Evans. And then I put her name and her birthplace and her dates in the cartouche. But look at those colors. This Martha, she loved colors as much as I love colors, because look at some of those leaves below the bunnies. I mean, she mixed all kinds of colors in those leaves. And her flowers and her flower basket at the top. It's an explosion of color. I did mine on 40 count Hemingway by Needle and Flax, and I used MPI silks. You know, and I chose the silks. A lot of times you've got a choice between silks and hand-dyeds and DMC, and you know, the silks, like the MPI silks, the Aversois silks, those are solid colors. Those are solid dyed colors. They were not dyed by hand, so the color is evenly distributed throughout the whole skein of floss. And when you've got small motifs, I think that looks beautiful, just the solid color. So there's a lot of little motifs and little uses of color. If I had done it in a hand-dyed, you're not going to see the variation in the hand-dyed. One thing I love about hand-dyed flosses is you get some light and dark spots, you get a little bit of color variation, and that looks really cool. Say if you have a big house and you're stitching, then you've kind of got the texture and movement of that difference in color from the hand-dyeds. With something like this, you could have probably seen that movement a little bit on those red pots at the bottom and also in the trees. But other than that, I feel like I like it just solid. So that's kind of how I decide on if I'm going to use hand-dyeds or silks. And sometimes I use DMC. Like right now I'm working on a WIP that is just all DMCs, and I like that too. But oh gosh, I love stitching with silk. It's just, there's nothing like silk. So if I can stitch with silk, I try to do that. So I'm taking this into the shop tomorrow to get a frame, and I'm excited to do that and happy to cross 2 things off of my list. Okay, here's the second. I haven't shown you the second one yet. Here is the second WIP that I finished, and I forgot to get the book. Sorry. This is Teresa Kogut, and the book is With Thy Hands, and here is the finish on this one. I just had that bottom section to go. And on this one, let's see, what did I do this on? I did this on Fox and Rabbit clay, I believe, 40 count. And I used the called for colors. On this one, she has a border on it, which is why I wish I would have brought the book to show you. It's a really thin border, like maybe a few stitches wide, and each side is a different border. And it's lovely, but I felt like I was happy with just having this, and I didn't want that extra all around the side. The only thing that I had to do was, in the original pattern, this is open to the border, so I just extended that line all the way down on both sides, and that made my own border. So this is With Thy Hands from Teresa Kogut, which I've always loved the heart and hand motif. So when I first saw this, I knew that was going to be a must make. And there's a smaller pattern in that booklet too that I also want to make, that I love. So that was, oh no, one more thing that I stitched this month. So the last thing I stitched was my word of the year. And if you've been watching my videos, you know I've done a word of the year for probably the last 7 or 8 years. My good friend Susan, who's no longer with us, was a big proponent of picking a word of the year to kind of think about, ponder on, work on. And she always said your word of the year should be encouraging and inspiring. So diet is not a good word of the year, because that's just like, you know, somebody getting after you. And it doesn't make you wake up in the morning and think, oh, I can't wait to diet today, to work on that, you know. So she always encouraged us to pick words that were motivating. And I thought that was a really good tip. So here's my little display of the past 8 years of words of the year. And my first, or the one for this year, is the word focus. Now that's a little bossy, you know, when you're trying to avoid bossy words, that's a little bit bossy, a little bit bossier than some of my other words of the year. And what I do is I take the Ultimate Sampler Motif book, which I know a lot of you also have. We have them in the shop. In fact, it's on the homepage. You can just click. It is full of sampler motifs. It's by the Sampler Company. And Brenda Keys has brought all of those motifs together. And so every year I pick different motifs that I feel like fit with my word or what my word means to me. And then I just design a quick little thing. The thing that they all have in common are, I did checkerboard borders on all of them because I didn't want to have to finish all of them with trim. And they all use pretty much the same colors. Now I went through my stash and just pulled some of my very favorite colors that I love working with, and I keep those on a separate ring and keep it with the fabric, which is 25 count Lugana mushroom. And so every year I just pull that project bag out. I know I've got the fabric and the threads. And I mean, I use different ones, but they've all used some of the same colors. So they all sort of kind of blend together, which I like. And so just go through and pick your own favorites. Don't email and ask me my favorites, because my favorites are going to be totally different than your favorites. You know, I try and get a couple of neutrals. So I have a brown and a yellow. I've got a couple of greens, blues, reds. And if I come to a year where I think, oh, I really need this kind of a color for this motif, I just add that to the mix. So the reason I did this one this year, so I have a clock. For me, focus is I want to focus more on, less on my phone and scrolling, which some nights, you know how you just have had a long day and you're just like, I don't think I have the attention span to stitch. But I want to be more mindful of my time. So I put a clock on there. I put a scissor for cutting out the things that I don't want to be spending time on. And I put I guess I'll call him Father Time. He doesn't look very Father Timey. He looks more like a colonial man with a staff. And I'm just picturing him, like pounding that staff and saying, focus, which again is a little bossy for a word of the year, but that's exactly what I want. So again, that is hopefully that's focusing, word of the year. And I'll just share some past ones. And again, I do not have patterns for these because I get that question a lot. Because I just took all the different motifs from that particular book. So I didn't want to make a pattern because the motifs are not my pattern. So this was Peace 2020. That was pretty future telling, wasn't it? Simplify in 2024. I don't think I did a very good job of that last year. Create in 2022. Is there anything more creative than a peacock? I mean, that's just fun. Grow. I can't read that year. Renew. This is my biggest one. I don't tend to make them very big because I just want a little reminder to set, at my desk. Trust. And I think this is Joy. Some years I make the words really small. Some years I make the words bigger. Focus I did pretty big. So it's just kind of a fun thing. And do I think about my word of the year every day? No. But I have this sitting there and I think about it often enough. And I just like having something to think about for the year that I want to learn more about, improve myself on, whatever. So anyway, nice little display of that. All right, so those are all of the things that I stitched in the past, well, since I talked to you last. All right, let's go on to, let's see. I'm gonna talk about, okay, let's do the 3 things next. So the first thing is, last time when I was putting my glasses on and taking them off, and you know, I said, well, don't leave them on, never mind, you don't need to know all that, is what I said. And then some of you deduced that it was because I need readers for close-up, but not for far away. So if I put close-up readers on, then when I'm looking at the camera or looking to make sure I have what I'm showing you in the frame, then it gets blurry. So several of you said you should get progressive readers. So I got these progressives. I'll link to them in the comments. I didn't spend, they were under $20 because I thought, well, I don't even know if I'm gonna like them. And I tried them on, and I think I really have to get used to them because I'm gonna hold this up and see if you can see this little, let's see, is there a way to let you see that? See the little gradient on there? Because it shows you the top, I don't know if it's gonna work. The top is clear. So that's perfect for those of us who can see, okay, longer distance. The middle is for like your computer screen distance, and the bottom is for like reading a book or stitching. And I put these on and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I like the idea, but Paul told me, well, you have to make sure to put them all the way up on your nose. And I think your eyes have to get used to the shifting points, you know, like it's closer up to here and then it's farther here and then it's nothing here. And I think that if I gave myself some time to get used to it, I think it would be just what I need. But right now, it just all looks blurry to me. So I'm putting it in my 3 things because you guys might find it really helpful. I think it's amazing that they make readers like that. And obviously there are a lot of us who need it. I'm gonna give it some more of a try because I'd like this to work. I'm determined that it will work somehow, but it's not yet. So put them all the way up on your nose and work with them there for a while till because I've heard that about when you get, is it cataract surgery, where they ask you if you want a closer up or farther away, and a lot of people pick one or both, or if you have bifocals, you have to get used to that line, the dividing line. So I think I can get used to it, but I'm telling you in case you all want to get progressive readers. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm doing another little Etsy shout out because I've been buying things on Etsy, and this is not necessarily for you to buy, although I would love for you to support these people because they're wonderful makers. But a lot of you love to make things like this, and so I thought it might, you know, be helpful to you to see some of the different patterns out there that you might like to make. I can sew. I don't like to sew. Well, is that true? I've made quilts. I don't like the cutting apart process. I like the picking out fabrics, and I like the getting the quilt back, but I don't necessarily like all the sewing of all the pieces and all the cutting of all the pieces. Anyway, I'd always rather be stitching. So my first one is a new to me maker that I haven't purchased from before, and I will link to these in the notes below, so make sure you click on the description and click on more to get this. But you know, I'm a little obsessed with this Tula Pink Tabby Road fabric line. I don't know, I've never liked a fabric so much. So what I do in Etsy is I type in let's see, Tabby Road Deja Vu, because that's the new version, the new name of this fabric line, and it brings up all the makers and all the things that have been made in this particular print. So that's kind of fun. So this is the one that I just recently bought from Thread Good Vibes. This is what it looks like on the side. It zips. And I got this in particular because I want to keep my Birds of a Feather projects that are my must stitches. You know, I have to stitch those patterns versus my want to stitch on the other ones. A lot of times they're the same. I also want to stitch those patterns, but it's a little more deadline driven for that. So anyways, when you open it up, it's like a little notebook, perfect size for like if you're doing the Prairie Schooler Santas or any of the 5x8 smaller sized, you know, with thy needle and thread, Plum Street Samplers, Stacy Nash, a lot of the smalls. So you can put in here, and this is a zipper with clear. So you can actually put in 1, 2, 3 different projects. And then 3, 4. There's 4. I thought there were 4. Anyway, it's just a nice little case to take. Like if you're going on vacation and you just want to take a little something, but you don't want to just take one piece, because you know, usually you stitch more. Well, I stitch more than that. I don't know about you. This is a really nice size. So again, that's Thread Good Vibes on Etsy, and I know she has some more of these. Not necessarily in the Tabby Road, but some other really pretty patterns. One of my favorites, where are those other little pieces? Hang on. Oh, here they are. One of my favorites on, well, let me show you this first. So this is Everything in Its Place bag, I think it might be called, from Rock Baby Scissors. Rock. Stitched with Love. Where does it say? Yeah, Rock Baby Scissors. I love this bag. In hindsight, I wish that I would have had her do more of the big things like this. I do like that there are small zipper sections as well. Oh, that's my son. Okay, never mind. But how many of those really do you need to use? It is perfect for like English paper piecing or hand piecing or any of the things where you have you need a lot of compartments. These would be great for the spooled threads, but I wish that I had bigger sections. So what I did to combat that is I ordered from one of my favorite people on Etsy, Maud and Jane, and I ordered these smaller, this is her medium-sized project bag if you're looking for that, because they fit perfectly in between those multiple pieces. So when I am going to stitch night, excuse me, or going on a longer vacation where I want to take more projects, this is perfect because I can fit several of these in. It's amazing how much this expands. So isn't that one cute? A little Christmas. So Maud and Jane, I've also got, of course I had to order the little scissor holder from Maud and Jane, the little accessory pouch. Really, I told you I'm obsessed with this. There's a water tumbler with Tabby Robe, but it's like $50. Not from Maud and Jane. Maud and Jane has really very reasonable prices, but somebody's doing a tumbler, and I'm like, I'm not paying $50 just for the Tabby Robe. So here are some other things from Maud and Jane. So this is a cute one. Again, and it fits so perfectly in that bigger case. I like this vintage one. And then I always buy these, I mean, every time I go on there, I think she's in Canada, but she has free shipping for not a very high amount, dollar amount, free shipping. So I got more of these things. I like to use these, give these as gifts, these little accessory pouches, because who can't use one of these? And the little scissor. So she always has fun stuff on her shop, and she's just a one-person shop, so you know, sometimes she has a lot and sometimes not as much. I know she's doing as much as she can, but she's lovely to work with. So, and then the last person I want, and this is all one of my 3 things, because I thought, well, Etsy, we'll just call that one of the 3 things. The last person, oh, you know what? I forgot to look up my Instagram person. I just found this person today, and they take wildlife photography. That's amazing. So I'm going to put it in the notes, but I can't tell you the name of the person now because it's blank on my paper. I forgot to look it up, and my phone is recording me, so I can't look it up there either. But he takes really cool pictures of like little mice and squirrels and bunnies, and just really close up videos and pictures. Like he must leave that video there for a long time until he gets just the right shot. So look him up, but I'll put him in the notes. That was a squirrel. Talk about a squirrel. Okay, back to the Etsy. I have one more Etsy person that I want to tell you about today, and that is Sherry So Sweet. She spells her name like I do. Sherry So Sweet. And look at this cute Valentine bag I just ordered. I ordered the biggest size because I wanted a bigger size. So, and then on the back, I love the red ticking. And I also got this Christmas one with the little hat. So cute. So I will link to all these people. And again, I know a lot of you make your own bags, and that is great. If I enjoy doing that, I'd totally be doing that, but I'd rather be stitching, so I just pay somebody else to do it, and I really appreciate their beautiful work. All right, let's talk about framing. Because first of all, I got back my dad's sampler that I did for him, and in the frame, and there's a reason I chose that frame, and that kind of led into talking about why you pick different frames for different pieces. But thank you for your nice comments about my dad's sampler the last time too. I have to tell you this fun story though. I got an email from a man named Tom, and Tom and Annette, his wife, they stitch together in the evenings and watch FlossTube, which I just think is the coolest thing. And they watch my FlossTube, and they're from St. Louis, so they like it when I talk about just different St. Louis memories, because they used to go to the same cross-stitch shop, Jean's Corner, that I went to back in the day. And Tom wrote and said, well, we were watching your FlossTube and you showed your dad's sampler, and I realized, you know, oh, I know your dad. And so he used to work with my dad for like 2 decades, worked with my dad, and just had the nicest things to say about my dad. And you know, that's always such a blessing to get other people's remembrances of your loved ones. And I shared his email with my mom and brother, and my brother's like, I remember that name because my brother worked there. I think one summer he was interning there. Anyway, all that to say, Tom, thank you again for emailing. It was really nice to hear from you. And such a small world, isn't it? But here is the framed finish of my dad's piece. And I told you in my last video, but this is the Family Patchwork sampler by Modern Folk Embroidery. I picked a blue color of MPI silk. I think it took 1.5 hanks, 1.25 hanks. Maybe I did it on 40 count. Pretty sure it's platinum. And I did personalize it in that particular pattern, which I showed you the cover last time. I forgot to get it out this time, but there are a lot of places to put initials. And so I used some of those places to personalize things for my dad. So here I personalized over here, down here, and then of course on the bottom over here. So I always like to personalize samplers for my family, but with my dad, I could do it even a little more. So let me tell you about the frame, and this is jumping into our framing tips section. I picked this frame because it is the color, the mahogany color of his office furniture. So it definitely reminds me of my dad. I think in his office at work, but for sure his office at home. I also liked how that mahogany color looked with the blue, but the main reason I picked it is because I just thought, you know, that is my dad's office furniture. So sometimes, tip number 1 is, sometimes you can tell more of the story with your frame. So in this instance, I'm telling more of the story because this is more him than any other frame I would have picked. And this was framed by Sydney Hephaestus frames, Hephaestus. I can never pronounce that. It's like the goddess of creativity or something, but Sydney is the one who's at our shop every Saturday from 11 to 5, and you can also email her because she does take pieces from out of state. All right, so another example of telling more of the story with your frame is my Birds of a Feather nativity piece. And I picked this frame because to me it looked kind of barn stable-y kind of, and I wanted that for Jesus born in a stable. So that is the reason for this particular frame. And I used that same frame on the little sampler I did for Paul's grandma, who was a hard-working farmer's wife. I mean, she had to make meals for all of the hired hands on their farm, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so also I liked this for the barn wood look. And this is a GGR piece, pattern. Martha Scott, I think it is. Another example, let me find it, of letting the frame tell more of the story. This is a Plum Street. It's not called Repeat the Sounding Joy, and I don't remember what it's called. But if you look it up, if you look up all the Plum Street patterns on our website, you'll see. So to me, I used this frame with the little gold nubs. I don't know what those are called, because to me it reminded me of gold bells, which is what I think of when I think of Repeat the Sounding Joy. So again, telling more of the story with your frame. I have a piece that I did to Telestai that has little, it almost looks like nails all around the edge like this. And I thought that was perfect for, because Tetelestai is finished, so it's an Easter piece. And I liked how that looked on that. So sometimes you can tell more of a story with your framed pieces. Sometimes you're just framing and there's not really more of a story or an appropriate frame to tell more of a story. And so then you have to decide, do I want a thin frame? Do I want a thicker frame? So I have some thoughts on that too. So this particular one, do I want it ornate? Do I want it simple? This particular one I picked because the actual pattern showed it on the cover, and this is no longer available. This was the 2023, I think, heart. Oh, it might still be available as a pattern. I'll have to look into that for you. Heart sampler by Heart and Hand. So sometimes you have a simple small piece and you just pick a really wow frame and it just really sets it off. And I think that's what happens here. If you can picture this in a very narrow, tiny little frame, it would not have nearly the impact that this thicker, fancier frame has. So think about that too. What kind of an impact and how does that relate to the actual stitching on the piece? So here's another piece where the stitching is oversized and really simple. So I wanted a thick frame to set that off. So this is a Prairie Schooler Santa done on 7-count, I think 7-count DeVos. And to me, the thicker, more substantial frame is in contrast to this one big piece. I'm going to show you another example in a minute, but if you have more of a simple piece, a thick frame can add to the impact and the wow factor. And again, if you imagine this with a tiny little narrow frame, I think it would be okay. I mean, Santa would still pop out because he's so oversized, but I think this takes it to the next level of impact on your wall. All right, here's an example of, not this one. Here's an example of a big piece with a narrow frame. This is Quaker Christmas 2 by Bygone Stitches. And I picked a narrow frame on this one because if you imagine a big frame, that's almost too much. There's so much going on in the center that if you had a wider frame, I think it would detract from what's going on in the middle. So sometimes if you have a really, really busy piece like this one, you want to stay simple with your frame to keep the focus on the middle and to not make it just almost overwhelming to look at, almost too much to look at. Here's one that, in retrospect, I wish I would have gotten a little thicker frame. So this is the Schoolhouse series by With Thy Needle and Thread. I chose to do it in one long lineup. It's actually 4 patterns. And I have a picture of this on Instagram because some of you have asked me how to put it into one long piece, and I just fudged it. I started out thinking I was going to chart that, and then I thought, this is going to take me forever. I'm just going to make a plenty long piece of fabric. And the way I figured that is I added up the length of each of the 4 patterns, add all those stitches up, add in probably 4 inches extra so that you have everything, you have room to do anything you want to do in there. And then that's the size you're going to go with. I'd stitched mine on 28 count over 1. And again, I just, as I went along, I thought, well, I'm going to borrow the tree branch from here to put here because I need kind of a transition. And I just did it as I went along. Back to the frame. I chose a narrow frame. I wish I would have chosen a thicker frame because I think a thicker frame on this piece, because it's so long, would have looked better. I don't dislike how this looks, but just going along with my theory on thick and thin frames, I think a thick one would have been better for this. So, and then the last one is a really long piece that does have a thick frame, and I think it looks really cool. And this is, oh heck, what's the name of this pattern? It's a Blackbird pattern, one of their more recent ones in the last couple of years. Crowns and Shields. It's the book Crowns and Shields. And here's this one where I did do a thicker frame. And I think because the piece is simple, it has enough going on, but there's simplicity in the piece. I think the thicker frame then sets that off. And when I first got it, you know, this was before I had Sydney doing all my framing, and I ordered this online and it came in more orange than I thought I would like. And I asked you guys, is this okay? What do you think I should do? And most of you said it was fine. And you know what? It's grown on me. I do like this color with this. I think it sets it off nice, but mostly I wanted you to see the thick frame on the simple piece. So those are my framing tips, or not really even tips, just things that I think about when I am thinking about framing and how I want that to look, and if I can tell more of the story with my frame and have that be even more meaningful, or if I just have to decide, well, what's the best way to show it off. So anyway, I hope that was a little helpful for you. All right, giveaway from last time is here. All right, this was a piece that I got at Country Sampler Retreat last year from Violets and Verses. I love this drum, but I also got the bigger sampler piece, and I will do the bigger sampler, and I don't need to do both. And it came with all of the finishing, oh, I can't show that. All of the finishing materials too. And I had you use the word drum in your comment. And so this is going to Kathy West 7195. So Kathy, if you can email me, my email address is in the notes below. I will get this shipped right out to you. Now, this time I'm going to give away one of my Maud and Jane Tula pink little accessory pouches because I thought that would be fun to share. And let's use the word happy because all of these fun colors just make me happy. So use the word happy in your comments if you would like to be entered to win this cute little pouch that I'm going to send you. If I had an extra medium project bag, I'd send you that too. Maybe I'll get that in the meantime. All right, so question of the day. I don't remember if I did. I don't think I did a question of the day last time. I don't remember to do it every time, but I do have a question. Because sometimes I get to my FlossTube and I think, and I keep a running list, but sometimes I think, I don't know, what should I tell people for my 3 things? So I want your ideas for 3 things. Just tell me one thing that you have discovered or used or tried, a product, account on Instagram, because I always like to do an Instagram. Just something that you would include in 3 things if you were me. And so hopefully I can share some of those in future FlossTubes. All right, I think that is, hang on, just let me check it for today, except for shop news. And I've got some fun shop news. I've got more, oh no, this was buried. I have one more picture to show you. Now, this was done by, not me, but my friend Cheryl. You know, I've talked about my friend Cheryl. I tried to get her to come on to my FlossTube to show this because this was the coolest idea. And I know you guys are gonna love this, but she didn't want to be on FlossTube. She's doing a long dog sampler now that is stunning. And I said, well, you're gonna have to come on my FlossTube to show that. She has hedgehog quilting on Instagram. She's a long armer. She does the best job of long arming of anyone you will see. I know some of you are long armers. I'm sure you're good. I'm sure you're good, but Cheryl is like over the top. Anyway, she's also a beautiful stitcher. And so she decided she liked the Crochet A Go-Go patterns that were the different seasons. And they have a few different patterns. They have, you know, winter, fall, autumn, summer samplers. And they have villages like fall village, autumn village, summer village, winter village. And so she decided she liked those, but she couldn't see herself doing the whole thing for each season. So she picked the top row of each season and put it into one piece, and it is so cool. So look at this. So each top row from those Crochet A Go-Go pieces were then stitched into this one full piece. Let me hold it up a little closer. So that's a cool idea. If there's a series that you like, and if it's seasonal or holiday or whatever, you can combine them and put them into one piece like this. And that way she keeps this up all year because it's always relevant, it's always in season. And so anyway, I just asked if I could share this idea because I thought it was really cool. All right, now market pre-orders have started. So the shops go to market around the first weekend of March every year. And February is when the designers start emailing us with information about their new patterns. So we started getting those emails from designers this week, and I've started putting them up on the website. So if you want to do pre-orders with us, then go to our homepage website. The main picture in the very middle is a button that says market releases, the upcoming market releases, or click for, I don't remember what I wrote, but click for upcoming market releases, I think it says. Or you can just type the word market into the search bar and it'll bring up all of the previews and all of the pre-orders. And we hold on to all of those and we ship them as soon as we have everything. So market is March 7th through 9th in Nashville. Paul and I are driving this year because last year the post office just completely destroyed one of our boxes that I had shipped home, which was a hassle to get all of those patterns reordered again. And do you think that once they split the box, they boxed the rest of the patterns up and sent them to me? No, they did not. They just sent them to the garbage or wherever they send those things, which was not cool. Anyway, we're driving this year, so we don't have to trust the post office. And so we will be back the week after the weekend of the 9th, and we'll get all the orders shipped out that week. And you are welcome to put in multiple orders. It's helpful if you just keep your pre-orders to just things that are on pre-order, not things that are currently in stock, so we don't have to hold a bunch of in-stock stuff for the next 4 to 5 weeks. But anyway, we are happy to combine orders. We'll refund your shipping, extra shipping when we ship those out. So I hope that you check those out. I know I have probably 6 or 8 more designer emails to get in the system tonight and tomorrow, which this is Friday, Saturday. So probably by the time you see this, most of them will be in up to date. But like I said, we get them every day. It's like I finally get through them and I think, okay, I'm caught up. And then I go back to check the email and there's 3 more. So it's just the way that it is in February. But be sure to check those out and put your orders in. So a few things that we have in the shop that I thought you might be interested in. You know, I showed you that Quaker Christmas finish that I have, which if you asked me which pieces I would save in a fire, that would be one of them. I love that piece and it was so much fun to work on. So we have the pattern, but we also put the kits back together again. I used Sulky and I used 36 count Winter Moon, and so that's what's in these kits. And so you order the pattern and kit separately because I know some of you already have the pattern. And anyways, I didn't offer this till I was all the way done with my piece so I could tell how much of the thread that you would need, and there is plenty. I think you'll have half a spool left over. So anyway, that is on the website. You can just put in Quaker Christmas and it'll come up your options. We have the 3 Birds of a Feather patterns for January. The February ones will be out, I'm planning on next week, which would be around Valentine's Day. Anyway, in January, we did Valentine Holiday. We offer them as the pattern or as a kit. Remember I told you how many of the pinks and reds there are? It's fun. January Cat. All the cool colors. And then Sally Spencer, which is one that I know a lot of you have been waiting for. And I'm going to show you my Sally Spencer in a minute. And also the original. So this is the original Sally Spencer that they stitched when they designed it. And this was on the original pattern, also on our pattern. So this is the one that's featured on there. And I did mine. This was the first sampler I had ever done. And I did mine on Ada. And I changed the white to make it a little bit darker. And then I put initials from all of our family. So here's mine. Here's the original. So since I did mine on such lighter fabric, the whites over here didn't show up. So I did more of a tan. But I love the colors in this. I love those blues. I don't know if that probably doesn't come through, but gosh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm almost tempted to stitch it again because it was a really fun sampler to stitch. And there's a lot of spaces all along the vines where she put initials, but you can also put initials. That's where I put our family initials, and I also put my name instead of Sally Spencer. The thing is, this is not a reproduction. This was an original sampler anyway, as far as I know. But I always think if I'm gonna have samplers on a wall, and I know this bugs the historians. But I would rather see my family's names in those samplers than people that I don't know. So I thought someday there's going to be thousands of Sally Spencer samplers stitched up, but there's only going to be one Sherry Berger sampler because I'm the only one that did that. So you put your own name in there if you want to, or put Sally Spencer, either way. All right, so those are the 3 January patterns. And we've got 2 patterns coming in February and then 3 in March. Anyway, the whole year's planned out. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you is some Reflet de Soie. And as long as I was talking about it, I thought, well, I might as well bring Gilles Leger that I did to show you. So this is one that I did for my paternal grandmother. And it's Gilles Leger by Reflet de Soie. I did this on 40 count. I think I just used like an antique white. That was before I kept track of it. But here's the pattern, and I'm showing it to you for a reason. Here's the pattern. Because we have the tins back in stock that they also put out for Gilles Leger. And inside the tin, you'll find a little empty tin to put like your waxer in, if you do a waxer, a little needle minder, and floss cards, which I would have totally used if they'd had this when I was working on it, because I think it's so fun. And then they came out with a couple of new charts, and one of them also has a tin. And this is Lucy Nuret, 1890, Nuret, probably Nuret, 1897. And I saw this on the Reflet de Soie Instagram, and the colors were so beautiful. Like, I thought this was pretty, that border is pretty intense. Look at that border. But the colors, when she put it on Instagram, were just so stunning that I thought, maybe I do need to stitch that. I love everything. And look at the birds and the trees, and I love everything in this sampler. I just was a little intimidated by that border. But they also have a tin to go along with it. And again, a little tin inside for your waxer, whatever, a little needle minder, and floss cards. Now you need to punch your own holes in the floss cards, but it's easy to find one of those round circle punches at a hobby store. So cute. And then I think this is new. Oh, I don't remember, but anyway, we just got more in case it isn't new. That's beautiful, isn't it? Emma Susanna Holman. Holman or Coleman? I think it's Holman. This a little bit reminds me of the floral motif sampler. I think this would be a beautiful companion piece to that. This is one that I'm just, Rita, who comes to our stitch night, says she's working on this, and I cannot wait to see this in person, even in progress, because that border is, no kidding, amazing. That is Yvonne Leclerc. And then this one is Fanny something. So those samplers, Reflet de Soie samplers, are so beautiful. There's so many varieties. We have so many of them in stock. And like I said, I've done Gilles Leger, and I'm working on, I have another one in my WIP list that is a Reflet de Soie, and I just love them. All right. Real quick, I'm just going to show you a few other, oh wait, here's one more Reflet de Soie. Now isn't this gorgeous? Look at all those different parts and pieces, and I just think, I mean, it looks pretty as one whole sampler, but I can also see doing little smalls, like small pillows in all the different ones, and having a whole bowl full of those at Valentine's Day. Or any day if you're a red fan like I am. All right, let me just show you a couple more and then we'll be done. The Twin Peaks Snowman for 2024. Somehow I did not get that up in time for Christmas. Well, somehow, because I was out of town, but That one's cool. We have some Valentine's Valentine patterns from Primrose Cottage. This one I want to do. Cute. And we have some new and restocks of With Thy Needle. Each time I order, I try to order in my order 10 more of older ones so that we can continue building our stock of them. So this one is 3 tulips, which I think is so pretty. Saltbox quilt sampler, which we've had before. Another new one, Brambleberry. Hard to read that writing in there. Hang on. Brambleberry bunting. Oh, cute. Brambleberry bunting. Forever and Ever. This one I'd like to do someday, Indigo Lane. Also want to do this one, Liberty House. Love that red house. Lori, who comes to stitching, did this one. It turned out so cute. Faith of the Heart, newer one, new old, Where Hearts Rest. When Flowers Bloom. Cute in that little red tray. And then the last thing is this little needle minder by Primrose Cottage, which goes with their Valentine stuff, but I just think it's so pretty any time of year. All right, that's it for today. Now I have a mess on my table that I'm going to go clean up, but thank you for watching, especially if you watched all the way to the end. I know these get long. I will be back after market, so probably sometime mid-March, and we'll have more fun things to show you. And so please give a like to this video if you want to. Leave a comment, because I always love reading your comments and responding to those. Don't forget to use the word happy if you would like to be entered into the Maud and Jane drawing. And tell me in your comments if you have something that might be a fun 3 things to share with people in the future. So thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.